Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Moses Kemibaro once again on the Pure Digital Passion podcast, and today with Farouk Ramji, the CEO of Mawingu, who we met almost 2 years ago at the studio when he gave us sort of the roadmap and what was happening with Mawingu and their plans. And it's just really nice to be in their brand new office, which looked fantastic at ABC Place here in Nairobi. And I'm really grateful for Farouk giving us a chance to have this conversation, which is super impromptu. So do respect also the fact that maybe the audio is not that great, but I think it's a great opportunity just to find out where's Mawingu today, what's happening since the last almost 2 years ago, and where things are going. And thank you so much for joining us, Farouk.
No, thank you. I think the last time I loved our conversation, so when you rang me up again, I couldn't say no. So I'm happy to speak to you again.
So tell us what's happening. First of all, let's talk about this brand new office. I mean, it's nice, it's beautiful, it's so many more humans in the office than last time, as I recall, when you're in the co-working space. So tell us what has happened and how you ended up in this space.
Yeah, I think it's just the natural evolution of Mawingu. We have, I think we spoke, it was about August, September of 2022.
Yeah.
In January of 23, we closed our Series B equity round of $9 million.
Wow.
And that money was going to be dedicated to rolling out across Kenya. And rolling out across the country means now we are in 28 counties.
No way.
Hitting close to 20,000 active subscribers on the network. We've got 200 people working for us. So we outgrew the co-working space area that we were in.
Yes.
We found a lovely space in ABC. We got our friends at ARC to help us with the branding. And we did it up. And so now we've shut down the Nanyuki office. We've relocated everyone to Nairobi. It's central. Our staff are really happy. We've got now a 24/7 knock in this office, and as well as a customer service center.
So pretty much everything is now centralized. Yeah, that's the ops, sales, everything as a business.
Correct.
Fantastic. And of course with the funding, I presume that's given you the legs to sort of go much further in the country. I don't know what the roadmap looks in terms of additional towns and counties, from the 28. Is that sort of in the nearer horizon or maybe closer to 2025?
Yeah, so I think what we did is in 2023, we rolled out a bulk of the network that we anticipated doing. So I know when I joined Mawingu, we were only in about 7 counties.
Okay.
Pre that fundraise, I think we were in about 11.
Wow.
So we went very heavy in 2023 to roll out. The limitation now from growing beyond 28 is where we can get the capacity requirements from our wholesale providers. So we're very interested to continue the expansion. There's areas, and I'll give you an example like Mandera. I've been dying to go to Mandera. It's a very interesting market for us where people don't have access to affordable internet right now, but we're just not able to get the capacity requirements we need to set up. So that's the only hindrance we have. But I think, Moses, to be honest, I think you can count them on one hand how many of those towns are left. For us, that makes sense for our strategy. And our strategy, again, is always focused on peri-urban and rural.
And I think the other thing that I remember from our conversations around Mawingu is that I think the strategy has always, first of all, been sort of flanking. You've not always gone head on to places where you might compete with some of the bigger names, but more importantly, historically, the underserved areas. And I think a big part of your philosophy is reaching the people who are currently not getting service or the benefit of high quality internet, correct?
Correct, absolutely correct. So what we've done is, in these areas, we have rolled out extensive wireless networks. And now what we're doing is to bolster our technology. We're actually starting to remove the wireless network in some of these areas and deploy fiber.
Wow.
So in Isiolo, for example, is one of our biggest markets. We have deployed 20 kilometers of fiber. We have over 750 active customers on fiber there.
That's fantastic, yeah.
We've scoped out every town now that hits in excess of 1,000. We start to put a ring of fiber connectivity in, and then we build a GPON network, which is fiber to the home. And this just teaches us that if we can go in and we can get the market, then we can deploy a state-of-the-art technology that's going to be in there for good.
And of course, when you do fiber, at least in my experience, even here in Nairobi, there's almost a sort of a lock-in that happens, right? There's something about fiber, the infrastructure is there, it's piping into your home. It's not quite as, shall I call it, flexible as wireless, but more importantly, the quality improves, I imagine, considerably, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no other technology in the world right now that's going to give you as supreme a delivery to you in terms of quality as fiber will. So I think that's the ultimate area that we want to move into. So our goal is right now, we hope that by the end of 2024, about 8% of our total subscriber base will be on fiber, and we want to grow that into the double digits as we expand.
Let's talk about as you're growing your footprint and I suppose going into areas where, historically there's not been great internet access to the home or to schools and other businesses, which you can also talk a little bit about, what has the situation been in terms of how do you remain competitively priced in the face of obviously competitors who I may not necessarily need to name who the usual suspects are,
yeah, sure.
But how are you dealing with the competitive element of the business?
Yeah, so I think it's a really good question, and I think price has always come up as a differentiating factor in this. Now, you look at competition, in my view, there are two types of competitions in our business. One, there's the mobile network operators who are doing 4G, 5G routers. Sometimes they're doing fiber to the homes in some of the towns that we're in. The pricing of that is a different technology for return on investment for those operators. Okay, so when you're looking at 5G technology, you've got to put a base station up, you've got to put active equipment up. You're looking at CapEx outlay of just one site of at least $100,000, $150,000.
Wow.
We can do the same thing for $15,000. So our returns per tower are very, very different. That's on the operator side. On the reseller side, you get a lot of, we call them sambazas, people that are unlicensed, they just pop up, buy a bulk of equipment and try reselling. You just hit a point where they're just not sustainable, right? They can acquire a few hundred customers, they start complaining, the call center's not 24/7, they don't have localized support. It's
Juakali, basically. It's Juakali.
Yeah, it's Juakali. Yeah, and we don't want to do that, right? We're running a very professionalized network across with elaborate back-end systems to handle the customers, and that's the only way we're going to be able to scale this business. And I want to get to 50, 60,000 homes by the end of 25, early 26.
Wow. And going forward, I mean, in terms of what are the new things that we can expect from Mawingu, especially within the context of where you are maybe already or where you're going to be? I mean, already you're talking about fiber becoming a big priority once you hit a certain threshold. But what are the other things that, could be on the horizon in terms of what you're offering and what you're doing? Yeah,
so I want to talk about something slightly different that Mawingu's going to be doing, and that's what we are calling Mawingu.org. So Mawingu's going to become that community network in the area that we're in. It's going to be very localized. So let's use an example of Garissa, right? So in Garissa, we've got close to 3,000 customers now. We want to connect the homes in Garissa, the schools, sorry. So we've already connected the Muslim school in Garissa. There's an orphan school in Garissa that has been connected with Mawingu. We've put them on packages where we're not charging any margins. So whatever we're buying from, we're providing it to these schools. And these schools have written us video notes on how happy they are. The teachers have changed the way they're giving the modules of learning. And we want to be known in that community as providing affordable access to uplift these children and provide them opportunities. They're in difficult areas and in difficult situations. Not everyone can follow the urbanized path of coming to Nairobi. So we want to still give them a shot at life and success, even remotely, wherever they are. And that's the opportunity where we want to bring in a new, unique element into Mawingu. And Microsoft has been a huge partner for us here in doing this and provided us with grant funding to enable us to grow. And now we've got over 150 schools connected on the Mawingu.org model. I think we're just scratching the surface. I think we can expand this further. So for me, it doesn't even need to be a school. If you are any type of institute that's doing good in the community and giving back, drop us a note and we're happy to take this up.
That's really impressive. 150 institutions as we speak.
Correct.
And for me, obviously, this is a big part of the whole closing the digital divide, because I think what has historically been the case, if I remember from some of the reading I've done, is that when a place initially or a scenario is not connected and you bring them into sort of some basic level of access, what tends to happen is once that entry point is achieved, there's almost a spin-off or a catalyzation of commercial opportunities that open up within the same area. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, we connected a TVET, a vocational training center in Nanyuki. And most of the kids in this class were hustlers. They were learning how to do automotive and then sell their business services on WhatsApp. Now, how can they do all of that if they don't have access to the internet? So once you provide them that, you take their business to the next level. And that's what, and you won't believe how many businesses are moving to things like WhatsApp as an example to market.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so basically the next thing that then becomes really sort of fundamental foundation, enabler, possibilities open up just by the mere fact it's available.
Yeah.
And I think when you think about the frontier markets that I think you're opening up, I mean, that's huge, isn't it?
Absolutely. And let me give you another example. So one of the principals at one of the schools was telling us that he used to have to make a decision between paying a teacher or subscribing to internet.
Wow.
Because the price was so high.
Yeah.
He says, when I switched to the Mawingu's.org model, that no longer is a problem for me. I pay my utility bill after I pay internet.
Wow.
And that needs to be what's happening across, right? It needs to become as important as paying for your electricity bill and your water bill, you're paying for your internet bill, because it's a necessity that's part of life.
So going forward, especially now with Mawingu Foundation, I mean, what is the way forward? What is the roadmap around what happens next?
Yeah, I think it's intertwining this into our strategy. So we started by piloting it and testing it. And now we've been able to secure quite a number of grants. And the idea is that if we can get Mawingu.org well funded, I can guarantee you that in every county that we're operational in, there will at least be 50 to 100 schools connected on that .org model. And
Okay.
that's the opportunity that we have for the size of the pool.
Fantastic. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share in terms of where Mawingu is and where Mawingu is going forward for the audience.
I think we're doing wonderful in Kenya. We've seen the fruit is starting to bear, right, from the seeds that were planted originally. I think the most important thing when I compare it to the startup ecosystem right now is Mawingu's a financially sustainable company, right? So we are doing very well in terms of our unit economics. We're EBITDA positive, not just in Kenya, but also at the group level, and not just single digit, double digit. We're now working towards the next metric, which is like EBIT positive, cash flow positive. So these are all metrics now that are on our radar. And in doing this, we've seen opportunities to expand Mawingu outside of Kenya. And so now we're starting to evaluate what these opportunities look like. And if we can replicate the Kenya success model that was built and founded on the foothills of Mount Kenya, then I think that's a real story that we can tell.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Really appreciate it, Farouk. Short and sweet. But more importantly, I think I'm delighted to see, where Mawingu is and where it's come from, and more importantly, the way forward. Thanks so much.
Thank you.